So recent days, I found not recent days. It's been a while.
Yes.
Like you got like YouTubers pro China and YouTubers anti-China. I can't say it's anti-China. It's like YouTubers like talk about the problem in China.
Yeah, I would say like I don't think it's a good idea to like categorize them to
Yeah, it's very
pro
difficult.
or
Yeah.
anti, because like saying good things or like praising the
Pro-China.
government doesn't necessarily equal to like
Yeah.
pro China, right? And also like telling the truth or like pointing out the bad part doesn't necessarily make you like anti-China. Right? I
Yeah,
would say
yeah.
like there are like two kind of groups of like foreigners on the YouTube platform. They're making like content, and one group of people they mainly focusing on like making the positive content, talking about what the good part about China, and there's another group of people they might focusing more on the negative part about China. Right?
Actually, it's like some kind of old way of thinking. Like you have two groups of people like compete each other. Like let's say one is the USA side or Western Europe side. Another side is the Soviet Union side, etc. So they make like competition to each other. So in China, the same thing which is going on, like two groups of people always fighting each other. But what I'm going to say is, if you are a pro-China YouTuber, you should also talk about the dark side and the problem of China, from my understanding, because there's no perfect things on this planet or even in the universe. So if you like promote something which you are really embedded in and you really like to talk about, it's fine. I mean, of course, China has like beautiful sceneries and beautiful mountains and historical sightseeing places, but you barely see those channels like criticize the issues. I fully understand, because criticize China is very hard, and maybe it will screw you. I mean, I mean, you get lots like internet mobs come to your channel and leave shit comments, etc. And almost like all these nationalists, they are saying the same thing. And you are racism, you anti-Chinese, if you are talking about the problem. But when you promote China, you got like cheers. Like, oh, everything he said is perfect. China is like what he said.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I do agree to a certain point, because I think in China, like talking about a negative part is quite difficult, or like
Yeah.
it's actually quite challenging for like foreigners here, because I would say first of all, because Chinese people they don't have that kind of like, they are not getting used to this kind of like rational discussion. So sometimes if you point out the bad part, a lot of people they are like nationalists.
Yeah.
They will think, hey, if you don't like China, you can go. We always have that kind of mindset, right?
That's a mindset which is like deeply embedded back to the education system that we think. So if you criticize something in this society, then you suddenly be treated like you don't like here. So when the YouTubers talking about the Chinese problem, then the Chinese people will think they dislike China. Actually, it is not. If you have experience like in the Western society, it's quite normal actually to criticize something, especially like criticize the government, etc.
Yeah, like I mentioned in my some of my videos before, like criticizing China or like mentioning the things, it doesn't do very well. To a certain point, it actually helps we to see the bad part, and maybe we can improve in the future, right? It's not like, hey, that's the bad thing and you guys are bad guys. It's not like that. It's like pointing out the flaws of the system, and then maybe we can improve based on their suggestion, and in the future we can actually even become even greater.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I do understand like those YouTubers' perspectives. I mean, like a lot of people who are only mainly focusing on making like positive things about China, because if I were them, probably I would have the same like feeling, because they're coming from, let's say, Canada or United Kingdom, which didn't change that much in the past like 20 or 30 years, but then the first time they got China, they see so many things going on in China, right?
So I mean, for those foreigners, if they just living like to do their daily lives, they don't want to like across the line that the government set up. You don't want to look the things in a deep way, like to find out the system defect of our society. It's fine actually. Like someone, I don't want to name them, but they are like doing like their daily life, eating fancy, delicious Chinese food, and take a camera, look at the beautiful streets in China, but they don't want to get to the countryside and look at those poor people and their lives and their living standard. They don't want to make a video about those things. Then you are totally fine.
Yeah, I would say people are standing on different perspectives. So if you are foreigners here, living a fairly comfortable life, let's say like 10 or 20 years ago, there are a lot of foreigners. They moved into China because of their company. So if they make a standard Western salary and they live in China, of course I can understand you feel very comfortable in your life because everything is so cheap. Like the cost of living, I mean, compared to a lot of developed countries, it's fairly reasonable.
Yeah, by the way, this is what I'm going to mention. As a foreigner in China, if you are sending by some big company or global organizations to Shanghai, you will get awesome living standard compared to the ordinary Chinese people. Your salary will be 10 times more than the ordinary Chinese people. So with those privileges, you will get awesome life in China compared to the life back to the home, because everyone has similar standard. Yeah. And here you are treated like a king. I mean, not literally like a king, but you will find things. Everyone treat you like a boss or something. So, but this is my opinion.
Yeah, I would say there's certain kind of double standards in China happening because ethnically speaking, we only have one dominant race. So of course, people traveling from other part of the world, they come to China. People are curious, right? People are curious. What do they think about China? And they, especially in some third or fourth tier cities where foreigners is quite weird. So they feel they would. I would say sometimes you will have some special treatment that every Chinese people will never get.
Yeah, because as an ordinary Chinese people, they don't have the ability to differentiate which country you come from. Are you an Arabic? Are you a Hispanic? And are you a American Chinese? Or if you are American Chinese, probably they can find out the difference. But
I would say the majority of people, they only judge you by your race. Right?
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
right.
white, then you're probably from Europe or from US. If you're black, you're from Africa. If you're Asian, then you're probably one of us.
Yeah, because from the appearance, you don't see, they don't see. Actually, I can find out some difference. But if you are Caucasian or white race, then you come here. If you are Russian, and you speak very heavy Russian accent, and come to China, you will be treated oh, this is from a man from England or something. So because of this kind of lack of communication of the world, I say now we got more and more opportunities to contact the
experience different kind of race. Yeah. So I would say this kind of double standard is getting fewer and fewer, I would say. Maybe.
Yeah, but
culture.
Yeah, because in China, the population has the ability to travel around the world. It's very few compared to the majority. So I mean, we
do have a lot of people traveling across the world, but compare our massive population.
Yeah.
I think there are only how many people have I think only 20% having passport in China.
Yeah, that's right. That's the problem.
20% of the population having a passport.
But that's still a big amount of population that travel around the world. So maybe from my experience in Sweden, I'm a Chinese. I'm walking on the street, I don't get any attention. Like, yeah, this
People
is
like treat you very normal.
yeah, this is a man. I don't need anyone like treat me differently. Oh, this is a Asian guy, and they look at you like an alien, and
Or like say ni hao maybe.
yeah, you are from another planet system or something. But I don't want to see like they also like discriminate you. Just treat
You're some normal guy, you know.
yeah, just a normal guy and doing their life, etc. So you don't get privilege as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I would say back to the topic like pro-China, anti-China. I would say first of all, I do like understand both people's perspective. Like people focusing on the positive part because they themselves having a pretty positive experience when they live in China. Right? People
Yeah.
having the negative feeling. I also understand
It's very difficult to get a negative feeling living in China because everyone treats you in a different way, which is the nice way, I think, in the majority of the chance.
I mean, like, yeah, the majority, I would say the majority of people living in China as a foreigner, you will have a pretty positive image about
Yeah.
the country because, I mean, cost of living is still relatively low, although it has increased a whole lot. But compared to some developed countries, it's still, if you don't plan to buy apartments in Shanghai or like, the cost of living is still, I would say, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
and then like all those huge public infrastructure improvement, and so yeah, but
Unless, as a foreigner, you want to touch a certain topic which the Chinese people don't want to see.
I would say yeah, if you have working a very old or traditional Chinese company, or you are doing business, or you are doing business in China, and then you will find some obstacle or trouble because there are a lot of like system which is super slow because of the
Yeah.
current system.
Yeah.
So you have to go out of your way to try to even to make your business survive.
Yeah, if you are living in Shanghai city, like this is like I call it, I think this is like some kind of downgraded Western world standard.
Mhm.
It's not totally matched to the Western world, but you still got like fairly good social system, etc. And then
I would say Shanghai, Shenzhen, those like first tier cities.
these
like,
are the window cities
Yeah.
of China to show up like how fancy China is. But if you go to like rural area, back to some remote place, and you want to do a business as a normal people there, actually as a normal Chinese citizen, you also find difficulties.
Yeah, it's a lot of like hassle, which you probably won't be able to see as
Yeah.
like in the beginning, but sometimes just a lot of bureaucracy involved. Of course, like everywhere has bureaucracy, but when the system is not as transparent, then just add more like trouble. Right?
Yeah, that's why the Chinese people travel all around the country, get to these mega cities to make a live here.
Yeah, because in those cities, like we have a relatively more fair system. We will have more equality compared to all those like third tier cities. I will say that's also why like everyone is trying to get inside those like integrate to those first tier cities.
Yeah, because if the social system is relatively equal, I can't see it like totally equal. But you got like same patterns all over the countries. Like I'm living in the southern part of Sweden, so if I go to Stockholm, I will fairly see like I treated in the same way.
Yeah, I would say like in some like developed country like in the U.S. or even in Taiwan, yes, there is some like I mean, how to say, it's like difference between in terms of economy wise, but policy wise, I would say it's still there isn't a huge gap like China. I mean, in China it's like a fourth tier city, and like in the first tier city, it's totally different.
And the residents, the people living in different provinces are treated in a different way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you are from I don't know which province, it's a good example, but
maybe it's not a good idea to like name specific.
yeah.
Just try to be like Chinese political correct.
Yeah, that's right. But if you from that place, and then if you come to Shanghai, then you are probably treated in a different way. even that you
Yeah, I
got
would
same
say,
nationality as the rest of the.
People from the first tier city definitely have a certain level of privilege, I would say. Just take Shanghai as an example. If like, I would say it's easier for a Shanghai local resident to get a job, or like, of course, buying an apartment is easier because it's for like non-Shanghai resident, you need to either like become a Shanghai resident first, and then you're able to allow to buy an apartment here, right?
Okay, so Simon's camera is running out the disk storage. Anyway,
Let's carry on.
yeah. So what I'm trying to say finally is, as a foreigner in China, if you really love China, please help China to evolve, moving forward, and find out some issues and problems, and then provide some kind of solution, or you can help it out.
Yeah, I would say I think like it's pretty hard to like change other people's video, like I would say like it's hard to convince other people to like making different kind of content.
Yeah.
Because in China it's still quite difficult to pointing out the bad part, right? Negative part. So if those people they want to focus on the positive part of China, I would say it's completely fine. I totally understand, but I just want to mention that don't tell other people or label other people like anti-China when they pointing out the bad part, because if you disagree with them, just talk about why you disagree with them. Give your concrete example. I think when we talk about China or certain kind of system, some people like it, some people dislike it. It's supernatural. It's just like someone like Donald Trump, somebody dislike Donald Trump. But if you say like you diss Donald Trump, doesn't mean like you're anti-American, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, like when you're criticizing your like president or prime minister, it doesn't make you like anti-Canada or like anti or like other like United Kingdom. But so it's the same. Like when we talk about, or like when some people talk about bad thing about China, we are not like anti-China.
Yeah.
So I would say it's the same thing. Just understand different kind of like perspective, and if you disagree, just keep focusing on that topic. And let's just talk about why you disagree with other party. Like talk about that things specifically instead of like labeling other people either pro or either anti.
Yeah, do not like blindly copy the same words as the propaganda system or whatever it is. Like do not have the same pattern like when you compliment China. So if like 1, 2, 3, 4 YouTubers are saying the same thing, for me it's like lost the credibility to let the viewer to understand your opinion, because you are doing a similar job as the propaganda do. Yeah. So anything else about the foreigners?
This topic, maybe we just wrap up for now, and in the future we can dig deeper.
Yeah, I hope so. Okay. Yeah.